let's talk about another way of communicating the values of what we're doing with floodplains. And let's go to the Napa project. Napa, California, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. They've been flooding since the 30s. There's a great impasse in getting any kind of project in having to do with environmental impacts, the costs, etc. Now that impasse was broken when the community sat down with the Army Corps and they said, we need a multi-objective project because what our community is about is tourism. And our community is about saving the coho salmon and the steelhead that go up and down this river. And our community is about trails and recreation and river parkways, and we want to bring back the downtown economy. So we went about planning this project, and the Army Corps of Engineers came up with a cost-benefit ratio that barely squeaked by of 1.1 to 1. And for this fabulous multi-objective project. Now this gets into this discussion we're having about principles and guidelines. This is a 7-mile long project. It affects a lot of people downstream, but the Napa people, around the city of Napa, but the Napa people realized that they weren't going to build the political support by using something like an Army Corps cost-benefit analysis. This shows like, whoa, this is not a good project. So they made their own benefit cost analysis. And their ratio was 1.4 to 1. Well, what did they value? They valued the fact that they were going to have tourism and river festivals and coho and steelhead runs, and that their transportation interruptions due to the flooding of the roads was going to be cleared up. They valued the fact that my water quality agency was after them on water quality permits and TMDLs, and they needed to meet the requirements of a sediment TMDL. They valued the fact that they were going to have a there in their community. That's not in the Army Corps benefit cost analysis. We had the Rutherford Dust Society crop up in the upper watershed. These are vineyard owners and vintners who said, we want to be a part of this project. So this became a watershed project, and the benefits of this project go to the upper watershed. We now have 40,000 acres of vineyard that have gone into best management practices. Does that get folded into an Army Corps cost-benefit analysis? No. And so as a result of this communication tool, there was a 2/3 vote to assess a tax to handle the non-federal share of this project that adds up to about $50 million. Now, the other way of communicating the value of functions in the floodplain is what happens if we try to take out floodplain functions from our projects. Let's roll back to the single-purpose project. This is the LA River, and it's now called, this particular area near Highway 101 is called the LA River Frogtown, much to the grief of the LA flood control engineers, because it ends up, the LA River's ecological functions are returning themselves. And there's sediment transport, and it's dropping out, and it's creating floodplains, and the wildlife is moving in, and the flood control maintenance engineers are going, oh, yay. Here's another part of the LA River where this is a trapezoidal concrete channel, filling with sediment and repairing vegetation. This is very easy to monetize. The value of what does the flood control district have to spend to take all this functioning stuff out in order to get their flood damage reduction benefits back? Maintenance costs are a huge incentive for going with designing better stream and river better flood control projects to avoid these maintenance costs. Here's a rectangular flood control channel, filling up, creating a bank-full channel, and creating a floodplain. What a headache. Okay, I have a final note. I think I'm coming. How many more minutes do I have? About 3 more minutes, okay. We need to study why the innovative flood damage reduction, functioning river, functioning floodplain projects have occurred. When I was in my 20s, I started to study those early, what we called non-structural projects. Soldiers Grove, Prairie du Chien, Allenville, Arizona, Littleton, Colorado. And I discovered this really interesting thing, that the real force behind the community demand for something different was community organizers. And my personal history with the Wildcat Creek Project that I just showed you was that my first job out of college, I was hired by the Community Action Program in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We're talking about the old Sergeant Shriver programs, the Peace Corps, CETA. And what my training was they put me in a car and they dropped me off in the middle of the slough in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and said, you go out and you knock on doors and you ask people what's important to them. What's going on in your neighborhood? What's going on in your community? And people were saying, man, we're in the slough, we have all this stormwater and sewage, and it's mixing, and it's coming into my home. I'm standing in my chair on the telephone to the TV station saying, if you need some fertilizer to grow your green peppers in your garden, you just come into my neighborhood. Now, it's a tough way to learn. It's just to be dropped off on a street corner, but I learned that you have to go into a community and find out what's important to them. When I worked in Wildcat Creek, Lily Mae Jones stepped forward from the community and she said, we're not going to have a concrete channel. We're not going to have a rock line channel. We want a project in which we can teach our children about the environment and have an environmental education magnet school and provide jobs for our kids, right? This is an inner city situation where you wouldn't think that would be their top priority. Lily Mae Jones had the same training I did. I grew up a white middle-class kid from New York. She grew up a black teenager in Richmond, and she worked for the Community Action Program. The people who organized the Soldiers Grove project came out of the Community Action Program in CETA. The people involved in Allenville came out of those programs. Prairie du Chien. I shared this information with Gilbert White, and we were like, so the important thing we are missing from our profession is community organizers. And when you find them, people like, let's say, Ron Flanagan, for whom it comes naturally, you are going to see these kinds of projects. Now, communities along rivers and streams are going to ask for floodplain functions. Thank you.